The colony ship New Dawn drifted through the cold darkness of space. Inside, 10,000 humans slept in frozen pods, dreaming of a new world. They did not know that something was watching them. Dr. Hana sat alone in the observation deck, looking at the stars. She was the only crew member awake during this shift. Her job was simple: watch the systems, make sure everyone stayed alive. She had done this for 3 years. Nothing ever happened. Until tonight. The first warning came as a soft beep. Then another. Then the entire console turned red. Hana jumped from her chair and stared at the screen. 3 massive objects had appeared from nowhere. They were not asteroids. They were not natural. They were ships. The ships were enormous. Each one was bigger than the New Dawn by 10 times. They were black and covered with sharp edges, like the bones of some giant beast. Hana felt her heart beating fast. In all of human history, they had never found alien life. Now alien life had found them. A signal came through. Hana's hands shook as she accepted it. The face that appeared on screen was not human. It was reptilian, with scales the color of dried blood and eyes like yellow fire. The creature was massive, with teeth as long as Hana's fingers. When it spoke, its voice was deep and cold. "Small creatures," the alien said. "I am Commander Raxus of the Krath Dominion. Your vessel now belongs to us. Your species is now our property. Do not resist. Resistance will bring pain." Hana could not speak. She could not move. The alien continued. "We have watched your kind for many cycles. You are weak. You are slow. You have no claws, no armor, no venom. You are prey, and prey must serve the predators. This is the law of the galaxy. This is the law of the Krath." The transmission ended. The 3 ships moved closer. Hana saw smaller vessels launching from them, heading toward the New Dawn. They were coming to take her. To take everyone. She ran to the emergency console and sent a distress signal. She did not know if anyone would hear it. Earth was so far away. The colonies were so far away. They were alone. But they were not alone. 20 minutes later, a 4th ship appeared. It was smaller than the Krath vessels, but it moved fast. Very fast. The name on its hull read, "The Defiant." It was a human warship, the first of its kind, sent to protect the colony routes. Captain Tejo stood on the bridge of the Defiant. He was a tall man, with gray in his hair, and scars on his hands. He had fought in wars on Earth, in wars on Mars, in wars that most people wanted to forget. He had seen death many times. He was not afraid of it. "Captain," said Lieutenant Wanjin, his tactical officer, "the alien ships are armed. Their weapons are more powerful than ours. If we fight, we will probably die." Tejo looked at the screen. He saw the alien ships surrounding the New Dawn. He saw the small attack vessels moving toward the helpless colony ship. He thought about the 10,000 people sleeping inside, unaware that their lives were about to end. "Then we die," Tejo said. "But we do not let them take our people. Not today. Not ever." He opened a channel to the Krath commander. The reptilian face appeared again, looking annoyed. "Another small ship," Raxus said. "You come to surrender?" "No," said Tejo. "I come to give you one chance. Leave now. Leave our people alone, or I will destroy you." Raxus laughed. It was a horrible sound, like rocks grinding together. "You threaten the Krath? You are prey. Prey does not threaten. Prey runs. Prey hides. Prey dies. We are not prey," Tejo said quietly. And then he cut the transmission. What happened next would be remembered for 1,000 years. The Defiant did not run. It did not hide. It charged directly at the largest Krath warship, firing every weapon it had. The Krath were shocked. In 40,000 years of conquest, no species had ever attacked them first. They were always the hunters, They were never the hunted. The first Krath ship exploded. Teho had aimed for its fuel storage, a weakness his engineer Subin had found by scanning the alien vessels. The explosion was beautiful and terrible, a flower of fire blooming in the darkness. Raxus screamed orders. His remaining ships fired at the Defiant, but the human ship was too fast, too unpredictable. It moved like no Krath vessel could move, spinning and diving, using asteroids as shields. Lieutenant Wanjin fired missiles that split into dozens of smaller missiles. Engineer Subin pushed the engines beyond their limits, beyond what should have been possible. The second Krath ship lost its weapons. The third took heavy damage. And then, when all seemed lost, when the Defiant was finally surrounded, Teho did something insane. He aimed his ship directly at the second Krath vessel and accelerated. "He is going to ram us!" A Krath officer screamed. The Krath ships scattered. They had never seen such madness. What kind of creature would destroy itself to destroy its enemy? What kind of prey would choose death over surrender? The Defiant did not ram them. It was a trick. Teho flew through the gap they created, grabbed the New Dawn with tractor beams, and jumped to hyperspace. Commander Raxus floated in his damaged ship, surrounded by fire and death. He had lost. For the first time in his life, he had lost. And the creatures that had beaten him were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be prey. He sent a message to High Predator Vorn, the supreme leader of the Krath Dominion. The message was simple. The humans fight. They do not fear death. They are not prey. I do not know what they are. The galaxy was about to find out. The Throne of Fangs was the most terrifying place in the galaxy. It was the capital world of the Krath Dominion, a planet of red mountains and black rivers. The air smelled like blood. The ground was covered with the bones of conquered species. For 40,000 years, no enemy had ever set foot here. The Krath were the masters of everything. High Predator Vorn sat on his throne, which was made from the skulls of dead kings. He was the largest Krath alive, twice the size of Commander Raxus, with scales as dark as midnight. His eyes burned with ancient fury. He had ruled the Dominion for 300 years. He had never known defeat, until now. "Tell me again," Vorn said, his voice shaking the walls. "Tell me how you lost to prey." Commander Raxus kneeled before him, still wounded from the battle. His left arm was burned. His pride was destroyed. "They did not fight like prey, my lord," Raxus said. "They attacked first. They used tricks. They were willing to die. I have never seen anything like it." "Impossible," Vorn growled. "All species are either predators or prey. This is the law of nature. These humans have no claws, no fangs, no armor. They are soft and weak. They must be prey. Then prey has learned to bite back," Raxus said quietly. Vorn stood up. He was so tall that his head nearly touched the ceiling. Around him, 100 Krath warriors watched in silence. They had heard the stories. They had heard that humans had destroyed a Krath warship. Many did not believe it. How could they believe it? The Krath were invincible. "I will end this myself," Vorn declared. "Assemble the Grand Hunt. 50 warships. We will find every human world and burn it to ash. We will take their children as slaves. We will eat their leaders alive. And when we are done, no one in the galaxy will ever dare to challenge us again." The warriors cheered. The Grand Hunt had not been called in 1,000 years. It was the ultimate show of Krath power. 50 warships could destroy entire civilizations. The humans would not survive. Far away, on the edge of human space, Captain Teho did not know about the Grand Hunt, but he knew that war was coming. He could feel it in his bones. The New Dawn was safe now, hidden in a human colony. Dr. Hana had stayed with Teho's crew, offering her skills as a scientist. She wanted to understand the enemy. She wanted to find their weakness. The Krath call themselves predators, she told Teho one night. But what does that mean? On Earth, predators are strong, yes. But they are also few, and they depend on their prey to survive. What if we are not their prey? What if we are something else? Teho thought about this. He had killed many enemies in his life. But he had never thought of himself as a predator. He was just a man trying to protect his people. I do not care what we are, he said. I only care about winning. 3 days later, they received a strange signal. It was not human. It was not Krath. It was something else. The signal led them to a small moon covered with ice. There, hidden in caves beneath the frozen surface, they found the Pale. The Pale were thin, ghostly creatures, with skin like white paper and eyes like silver coins. They had no mouths. They spoke directly into the mind. When Dr. Hana first heard their voices in her head, she nearly screamed. Do not fear, the voice said. We are not your enemy. We are slaves, like you will become, if the Krath win. The leader of the Pale was called Elder Telos. He was very old, perhaps 1,000 years, and his mind was sharp as a knife. He told them the truth about the galaxy. The Krath have conquered over 200 species, Telos explained. Some they killed. Some they enslaved. We, the Pale, have served them for 10,000 years. We have no weapons. We have no ships. We have only our minds, and they use us to read the thoughts of their enemies. Why are you telling us this? Hana asked. Because you are different, Telos said. The Krath believe the galaxy has only 2 kinds of life, hunters and hunted. But you humans do not fit. You are soft like prey, but you fight like predators. You are few, but you do not run. This confuses them. This scares them. And for the first time in my long life, I feel something I had forgotten. What? Teho asked. Hope, said Telos. The Pale gave them everything. Maps of Krath space, locations of their bases, weaknesses in their ships. The Krath had never feared their slaves learning their secrets. Why would they? Slaves were just tools. Tools could not rebel, but tools can become weapons. Lieutenant Wanjin took a team of soldiers to a Krath mining world where Pale slaves worked in the darkness. The mission was simple. Free as many Pale as possible. Show them that resistance was real. The mission did not go as planned. The Krath detected them. Alarms screamed. Warriors came running with weapons that could cut through metal. Wanjin had 12 soldiers. The Krath had over 50. We should retreat, one soldier said. No, said Wanjin. We came to show them that humans do not give up. So we do not give up. They fought through the night. They fought in the darkness, in the tunnels, in the blood. Wanjin killed 17 Krath with his bare hands after his gun ran out of power. When the sun rose, only 4 humans were still alive, but 40 Krath were dead. The survivors escaped with 100 freed Pale. And the story spread across the galaxy, whispered from slave to slave, from world to world. The humans fight in the dark. They do not sleep. They do not stop. They are not prey. 2 weeks later, the grand hunt arrived at the human border colonies. 50 massive warships, carrying 1 million Krath warriors, ready to end humanity forever. But the colonies were empty. The humans had evacuated everyone. All that remained were machines, automated weapons, and a single message playing on every frequency. You came to hunt us, the message said. But we have been hunting each other for 1 million years. Welcome to our game. High Predator Vorn heard the message and laughed. Games? The Krath did not play games. They won. Always. Then the first trap exploded, destroying 3 ships instantly. And the hunt became something else entirely. 6 months of war had broken the grand hunt. High Predator Vorn stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the reports. When the hunt began, He had 50 warships. Now, he had 32. And they had not won a single real battle. The humans refused to fight properly. They did not stand and face the Krath like warriors. They hid. They ran. They attacked from the shadows and vanished before the Krath could respond. It was cowardly. It was dishonorable. And it was working. Admiral Minho, the leader of Earth's defense fleet, called it the wolf doctrine. Wolves did not fight bears head to head. Wolves bit and ran. They attacked when the bear was tired. They attacked when the bear was wounded. They never stopped, never rested, until the bear fell down and died. The Krath were the bear, and the wolves were everywhere. Captain Tejo led the attacks on supply lines. His ship, the Defiant, had become famous across the galaxy. It appeared without warning, destroyed fuel transports, and disappeared into asteroid fields. The Krath sent hunters after him, but they never came back. "Where do they hide?" Vorn demanded. "How do they know where we will be?" His officers had no answers. They did not know that the Pale were sending information to the humans. They did not know that their slaves were their greatest weakness. The attacks came at all hours. The Krath needed sleep, like all living things. But the humans attacked during their rest cycles, when guards were slow and minds were dull. They attacked with sounds that hurt Krath ears. They attacked with lights that blinded Krath eyes. They poisoned water supplies with chemicals that made Krath soldiers see monsters in every shadow. Commander Raxus tried to adapt. He ordered his soldiers to sleep in shifts. He ordered them to check their water 3 times before drinking. He ordered them to trust nothing and no one. But trust was already dying. Engineer Subin, the genius who kept the Defiant running, had created something terrible. It was a virus, invisible and silent, that infected the neural implants all Krath officers used. The implants helped them communicate, helped them think faster, helped them be better hunters. Now the implants made them see things that were not real. Raxus was in his quarters when the virus hit his fleet. First, he heard whispers, voices speaking in languages he did not know. Then he saw movement in the corners of his eyes, shapes that vanished when he looked at them. His heart beat faster. His scales grew cold. He walked to the bridge and found chaos. Officers were screaming. Soldiers were fighting each other. One warrior had torn out his own eyes, crying that there were insects inside his head. Another was shooting at the walls, convinced that human soldiers were pouring through them. "What is happening?" Raxus roared. No one answered. They could not hear him. They could only hear the whispers. Raxus grabbed his second in command, a young officer named Neris. The young Krath was shaking, but his eyes were clear. His implant was older, simpler, and the virus had not affected him as badly. "Scout Neris," Raxus said. "Tell me what you see." "I see our brothers killing each other," Neris whispered. "I see our fleet dying. I see that we are losing, Commander." Raxus released him. He looked around at the destruction. In 1 hour, the virus had done more damage than 100 human warships could have done. This was not war. This was something else. Something the Krath had no name for. When the madness finally ended, 3 ships were destroyed from the inside. 2,000 Krath were dead, killed by their own brothers. And Raxus had to send a message to High Predator Vorn. He had never felt fear before. Fear was for prey. Fear was for the weak. But as he recorded his report, his voice was not steady. "My lord," Raxus said, "the humans do not fight like any enemy we have faced. They do not seek glory. They do not care about honor. They only want to win, and they will do anything to achieve it. They attack our minds. They turn us against ourselves. They make us afraid of the dark." He paused. The next words were the hardest he had ever spoken. "My lord, I am afraid." Vorn watched the message alone in his throne room. His claws dug into the armrests of his skull throne. Afraid. A Krath commander had admitted fear. This had never happened in 40,000 years. The humans were not just fighting a war. They were destroying everything the Krath believed about themselves. They were proving that predators could become prey. Vorn made a decision. If normal weapons could not defeat the humans, he would use something else. Something that had not been used in 10,000 years. Something that had been forbidden because it was too terrible even for the Krath, the World Ender. It was a weapon from ancient times, built by a species the Krath had conquered long ago. A single shot could destroy an entire planet. It could crack a world in half and burn everything on its surface. The Krath had kept it as a trophy, a reminder of their power. Now Vorn would use it. If the humans will not surrender, he declared, then we will destroy their home. We will burn Earth. We will kill every human in the galaxy, and we will never speak of them again. Admiral Minho received the intelligence from the Pale Network 3 days later. He read it twice, then 3 times, making sure he understood. The Krath were coming for Earth, and they were bringing a weapon that could end everything. He called Captain Tejo, Dr. Hana, Lieutenant Wanjin, and Engineer Subin to a secret meeting. Their faces were tired. They had been fighting for months. They had won many small victories, but none of that mattered now. The enemy is coming, Minho said. They are coming with something we cannot stop. We have one chance. One final battle. If we fail, humanity dies. No one spoke. The weight of those words filled the room. Then Tejo stood up. Then we do not fail, he said. We have survived ice ages. We have survived plagues. We have survived ourselves. We will survive this too. Dr. Hana nodded slowly. And maybe, she said, we can do more than survive. Maybe we can change everything. The final battle was coming, and Earth was waiting. The Krath Armada entered the Sol system like a storm of death. 30 warships remained, each one larger than a city. In the center of the fleet, protected by the strongest shields, was the ship carrying the World Ender. The ancient weapon glowed with terrible power, ready to destroy everything humans had ever built. High Predator Vorn stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching Earth grow larger on the screen. Such a small planet. Such a weak-looking world of blue water and green land. It was hard to believe that the creatures from this tiny ball had caused so much trouble. Soon, Vorn whispered, it will all be over. On Earth, billions of people looked up at the sky. They could not see the Krath ships yet, but they knew they were coming. Families held each other. Children asked questions their parents could not answer. Old men remembered old wars and wondered if this would be the last one. Every human ship that could fly moved to protect the planet. Warships, cargo vessels, passenger transports, mining ships, anything with an engine and a weapon. Admiral Minho knew they could not win in a direct fight. The Krath were too strong, too many, too powerful, but they had to try. All ships, Minho broadcast. This is our home. This is where our ancestors were born. This is where our children should grow. Today we fight not for victory but for time. Every minute we survive is a minute for someone else to escape. Every Krath ship we damage is one less ship hunting our people across the stars. He paused, looking at the faces of his officers. They were afraid. They were brave. They were human. I will not lie to you, he said. Many of us will die today. Maybe all of us. But we will not be forgotten. 1,000 years from now, if anyone survives, they will tell stories about this day. They will say that humans did not run. Humans did not hide. The battle began. Human ships crashed against the Krath fleet like waves against rocks. Missiles flew. Lasers burned. Explosions lit up the space between Earth and Moon. The Krath destroyed ship after ship, but more kept coming. For every human vessel that died, another took its place. Vorn watched with growing frustration. Why did they not surrender? Why did they not beg for mercy? Any reasonable species would have accepted defeat by now. But the humans kept fighting, kept dying, kept attacking. They are insane, Vorn growled. All of them. Completely insane. In the chaos of battle, a small shuttle slipped past the Krath lines. It carried only one passenger, Dr. Hana. Her plan was desperate and probably stupid. She would surrender herself to the Krath, pretending to represent humanity's submission. Once aboard the flagship, she would broadcast a message to every Krath ship. Not a military message. Not a threat. Something much more powerful. The truth. Krath soldiers captured her shuttle and brought her before High Predator Vorn. She was tiny compared to them, a soft creature with no claws, no teeth, no armor. Vorn looked at her like a giant looking at an insect. You are their leader? He asked. No, Hana said. I am a scientist. I study life. I wanted to meet you before the end. Vorn laughed. Meet me? You wanted to see the face of death? Very well, small one. Look at me. Remember my face when I destroy your world. May I show you something first? Hana asked. Vorn was curious despite himself. What could this tiny creature possibly show him that would matter? He nodded. Hana activated her device. Screens across the entire Krath fleet flickered and changed. Every Krath warrior, every officer, every pilot, saw what Hana wanted them to see. Human history, not the history of war, though there was plenty of that. Not the history of conquest, though humans had conquered too. The history of survival. They saw humans in ice ages, wrapped in animal skins, fighting cold that would kill most species in minutes. They saw humans surviving plagues that killed half their population, burying their dead and continuing on. They saw humans walking through atomic ruins, burned but not broken. They saw humans crawling out of trenches filled with poison gas, still holding their weapons. They saw mothers protecting children, soldiers carrying wounded friends, strangers helping strangers, the weak defending the weaker. You think you are predators, Hana said, her voice broadcast to every ship. You believe that you are the strongest because you have claws and teeth and power. But you have never faced extinction. You have never stood at the edge of death and refused to fall. She stepped forward, looking directly at Vorn. We have. Over and over again. Ice wanted to freeze us, but we made fire. Disease wanted to kill us, but we made medicine. We even tried to destroy ourselves with weapons that could burn whole cities. The images kept flowing. Humans building cities in deserts. Humans living on mountains where the air was thin. Humans diving into oceans where pressure could crush bones. Humans reaching for the stars with nothing but dreams and determination. We are not prey, Hana said. We are not predators. We are survivors. And survivors are the most dangerous thing in the universe. Because we have already lost everything and come back. You cannot scare us with death. We know death very well. We have beaten it 1,000,000 times. Scout Neris watched from the crowd of warriors surrounding Hana. He had never seen anything like this. He had been taught that the Krath were supreme, that all other species were inferior. But these images, these stories, they made him feel something strange. Doubt. Were the Krath really the strongest? They had never been tested. They had conquered weak species who could not fight back. They had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that would not give up. Vorn saw the confusion spreading among his warriors. He saw them looking at each other, questioning everything they believed. This was dangerous. This was worse than any weapon. Enough, Vorn roared. He grabbed Hana with one massive claw, lifting her from the floor. Pretty words from a dead species. Your history means nothing. Your survival means nothing. In 1 hour, your planet will be ash, and all your stories will be forgotten. But outside, Something was happening. Captain Tejo had brought the Defiant on its final mission. While Hana distracted the Krath, he flew directly toward the World Ender ship. His crew was with him. Lieutenant Wanjin at weapons, Engineer Subin at engines. "This is probably a suicide mission," Tejo said. "Probably," Wanjin agreed. "The chances of survival are very low," Subin added. Tejo smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had made peace with death. "But not zero," he said. "And we are humans. We specialize in beating bad odds." The Defiant accelerated toward the World Ender. Krath ships tried to stop it, but the little warship danced between them like a ghost. It took hit after hit, pieces of its hull flying off into space, but it kept going. It would not stop. At the last moment, Tejo did not ram the World Ender. Instead, he fired everything. The Defiant had directly into the weapon's core. The explosion was blinding, a flash of light that could be seen from Earth. When the light faded, the World Ender was broken. Useless. Destroyed. And from the edges of the battlefield, new ships appeared. Pale ships. Ships from other enslaved species. Elder Telos had done the impossible. He had organized a rebellion across Krath space. Hana's broadcast had given them courage. Tejo's sacrifice had shown them that the Krath could be beaten. The slaves were rising. Vorn dropped Hana to the floor as alarms screamed around him. His fleet was surrounded. His weapon was destroyed. His empire was crumbling. "This is impossible," he whispered. "This cannot be happening." But it was happening. And it was only the beginning. 1 year had passed since the Battle of Sol. The galaxy had changed forever. The Krath Dominion, which had ruled for 40,000 years, no longer existed. It had not fallen in one great battle. It had crumbled from within, like a tree that looked strong, but was hollow inside. When the slaves saw that the Krath could be defeated, they rose up everywhere. On mining worlds and factory planets, on prison moons and transport ships, billions of creatures who had lived in chains suddenly remembered what freedom meant. The Pale led the way, their telepathic voices spreading the message from star to star. The predators can bleed. The predators can fall. High Predator Vorn died on his own flagship. Not in battle against humans, but killed by his own guards. Scout Neris was among them. The young warrior who had once believed everything the Krath taught him now understood that strength without wisdom was just cruelty. That power without mercy was just evil. When Vorn fell, Neris felt no joy. Only sadness for all the wasted years, all the needless death, all the lies his people had believed. The Krath were not supreme. They were just another species, no better or worse than any other. They had chosen to be monsters. They could choose to be something else. Captain Tejo survived the Battle of Sol, barely. The Defiant was destroyed, broken into 1,000 pieces by the explosion that killed the World Ender. But Pale rescue ships, faster than any Krath vessel, had pulled the crew from the wreckage before they died. When Tejo woke up in a medical bay, the first thing he saw was Dr. Hana sitting beside him. "You did it," she said. "We did it," he corrected. "All of us together." His body was broken. His left leg was gone. Burns covered half his face. The doctors said he would never fight again. But Tejo did not care about fighting anymore. He had fought enough for 10 lifetimes. Now he wanted to see what came next. What came next was something nobody expected. Peace. Not easy peace. Not quick peace. The galaxy was a mess of wounded species, destroyed worlds, and deep hatreds. Some former slaves wanted revenge against the Krath. Some Krath refused to accept their fall and kept fighting. Pirates and criminals took advantage of the chaos. It would take many years to sort everything out, but a beginning was made. 1 year after the battle, representatives from dozens of species gathered on a neutral station in empty space. Humans, Pale, former Krath, and many others came together to talk instead of fight. It was the first Galactic Council in history. Dr. Hana spoke for humanity. She was nervous standing before so many alien eyes, so many different beings who had every reason to hate and fear each other. But she remembered what Taeho had told her before she left. Just tell them the truth. The truth is powerful enough. We did not come to the stars looking for war, Hana said. We came looking for life, looking for answers, looking for friends. She paused, looking at the faces around her. The pale with their silver eyes, the Krath with their deadly fangs. Species she had no names for. Shapes she could barely understand. I know that many of you have suffered because of war. Some of you suffered because of us. Some of you suffered because of the Krath. Some of you suffered because of each other. That suffering is real. That pain is real. And it will take time to heal. She thought about Earth. About the graves of soldiers who had died to protect their world. About the families who would never see their loved ones again. War always cost too much. But I believe we can be more than our pain, she continued. I believe we can build something new. Not an empire. Not a dominion. A community. A place where predator and prey are just words, not destiny. A place where every species can grow and learn and make mistakes and try again. She smiled, and for a moment, she looked very young and very old at the same time. On Earth, we have a saying. It takes more strength to make peace than to make war. I think that is true for the whole galaxy. So I ask all of you, not as a human, not as a conqueror, not as a victim, but as a living being who wants something better. Let us try. Let us see what we can build together. 2. The silence that followed was heavy. Then, slowly, Elder Telos of the Pale raised his hand in agreement. Then, another species. Then another. Even some of the Krath representatives raised their hands. It was not everyone. It was not perfect. But it was a start. Captain Taeho watched from the back of the room, leaning on a metal crutch that replaced his leg. Lieutenant Wanjin stood beside him, arms crossed, scanning the crowd for threats out of habit. Engineer Subin was not there. She was already working on new ships designed for exploration, not war. She said she was tired of building weapons. After the ceremony, as delegates mixed and talked and began the long process of learning to trust each other, a familiar figure approached Taeho. Scout Neris looked different now. He had removed the military symbols from his armor. His eyes were quieter, less angry. He moved carefully through the human crowd, aware that many still feared him. Captain Taeho, Neris said, I wanted to speak with you. Taeho nodded. He remembered this Krath from intelligence reports. The young officer who had helped kill Vorn. The warrior who had changed sides. Speak, Taeho said. Neris struggled to find words. The Krath language had no terms for what he wanted to say. Apology was weakness. Gratitude was submission. But he was learning that the Krath language was missing many important things. My people called you prey, Neris finally said. Then we called you monsters. Then we called you enemies. All of these names were wrong. I have watched your species for 1 year now. I have studied your history, your art, your songs. And I still do not understand you. Nobody understands us, Taeho said. We do not understand ourselves. Neris tilted his head, a gesture he had learned from watching humans. Then, what do you call yourselves? If you are not predators, not prey, not monsters, then what are you? Taeho thought about the question. He thought about Earth, with its long history of war and peace, cruelty and kindness, destruction and creation. He thought about humans at their worst, killing each other over lines on maps. He thought about humans at their best, reaching out to save strangers. Human, he said simply. We call ourselves human. That is not an answer, Neris said. No. Taeho agreed. It is a process. Being human is not something you are. It is something you try to be. Every day. And sometimes you succeed, and sometimes you fail. The trying is what matters. Neris was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. I think, he said, I would like to understand what that means. Will you teach me? Tejo looked at the young Kroth. A year ago, they had been trying to kill each other. Now here they were, talking about understanding, about learning, about becoming something new. I am not a teacher, Tejo said, but I can be a friend. If you want that, Neris extended his clawed hand. Tejo took it. The scales were cold and hard, but the grip was gentle, careful, trying not to hurt. Around them, the Galactic Council continued its work. Arguments and agreements, old hatreds and new hopes. It would be a long journey, full of mistakes and setbacks and small victories, but it had begun. And somewhere in the crowd, Dr. Hana watched the captain and the Kroth shake hands. She smiled and wiped a tear from her eye. They had fought a war to survive. Now they would work for something harder and more important, a future worth living. Above them, the stars shone bright and cold, full of mysteries yet to be discovered. The galaxy was vast and strange and often dangerous, but for the first time in 40,000 years, it was also free, and that made all the difference.